Welcome to Phobia Files. Welcome back to Phobia Files, where we dive deep into the fears that haunt us. Today, we've got an intriguing topic to explore, one that might just give you chills. And before we begin, a quick reminder. Subscribe to Phobia Files quickly, or you might just wake up to an uninvited serpent in your bed tonight. Now, let's get into it, because human minds are wired to fear many things, and many of these fears have a name. Phobias. Phobias range from rational fears rooted in real danger to seemingly random ones that might even sound amusing to others. Our topic for today takes us into the animal kingdom as we explore the 10 most common animal phobias humans experience. These might be more relatable than you think. Let's jump right into it, starting with number 10 on our list. Allurophobia. This is the fear of cats. Yes, you heard that right. Those adorable, furry creatures that have taken over pet lover communities and social media. While some people adore cats, others are absolutely terrified of them, which falls under a broader category called zoophobia, or the fear of animals. Allurophobia is surprisingly common, and its effects can vary widely. For some, it manifests as a simple reluctance to touch cats. Others may experience far more severe symptoms, including anxiety, panic attacks, and physical effects like dizziness, nausea, or even an accelerated heartbeat. For many, the phobia stems from a negative experience, like being bitten or scratched, while for others, it seems to exist for no apparent reason. While it's hard for cat lovers to imagine, this fear can be debilitating. The good news is that it's manageable. People manage allurophobia through controlled exposure, behavioral therapy, and, in extreme cases, medication. Avoiding cats altogether is another simple, albeit limiting, solution. Now, let's move to number 9. Ophidiophobia, the fear of snakes. Unlike some other animal phobias, this one is rooted in evolution. It's easy to understand why humans are instinctually afraid of snakes, given that they've posed a threat to survival through history. One venomous bite can be fatal, so our brains are hardwired to be cautious of them. For some individuals, however, this caution escalates into an extreme fear. Those with ophidiophobia may experience severe symptoms, such as dizziness, excessive sweating, nausea, palpitations, or even fainting at the sight, or even the mention of a snake. This fear is so intense for some that it severely impacts their daily lives. As with other phobias, treatment often involves therapy, medication, and coping strategies. Of course, avoiding snakes as much as possible is also a logical step, but it's not always foolproof if someone suffers from severe symptoms. Coming in at number 8 is a phobia you might not frequently think about: Helmethophobia, or the fear of worms. Now, this one can vary significantly from person to person. For some, worms might not be a big deal, a bit unpleasant, perhaps, but nothing terrifying. For others, though, merely seeing a worm can trigger extreme panic or anxiety. The root of helmethophobia often lies in the knowledge that some worms are parasitic. These thoughts can snowball into fears of worms entering the body, even though most in real-world encounters are harmless. Despite their small size and the fact that they are fairly easy to avoid, this fear can still have a significant impact on someone's quality of life. In more severe cases, exposure therapy and medication may be needed, while others manage it simply by ensuring worms don't cross their path. Finally, at number 7, we have a phobia that Alfred Hitchcock may have popularized: Ornithophobia, the fear of birds. Birds come in all shapes and sizes, with species exhibiting a staggering variety of behaviors. For some, this diversity can be fascinating. For others, it's overwhelming. Ornithophobia isn't as uncommon as you might think. Certain species, especially larger or more aggressive birds, can be intimidating and even dangerous in some situations. This phobia can range from mild discomfort to full-blown panic attacks, with symptoms like chest pains, dizziness, and a racing heart. For those afflicted, avoiding birds can be difficult, given that they're such a regular part of everyday environments. As with other phobias, psychotherapy and medication are common ways to cope. Intrigued? We're just getting started. And the sixth most common animal phobia is up next. Keep watching to discover more fascinating insights into the fears that shape us. Let's dive right into it with number 6, Entomophobia, fear of insects. This fear is no surprise, as insects are among the most unpredictable creatures. They're small, fast, and can appear suddenly when you least expect it, making them a frequent cause of unease. But entomophobia isn't just about dangerous or venomous insects like bees or wasps. It can also include harmless ones, such as moths or flies. For individuals with this phobia, even the sight of these creatures can trigger a cascade of symptoms. Think panic attacks, tightness of the chest, a rapid heartbeat, hyperventilation, shaking, and, in some cases, excessive crying. Children, and particularly sensitive adults, can feel as though insects might crawl on their skin or swarm them out of nowhere, even if the threat isn't real. The underlying fear is often deeply rooted in trauma or heightened sensitivity, but it can severely impact daily life. Treatments like behavioral and exposure therapies are common, and in some cases, medications are prescribed. While avoidance is a short-term solution, proper treatment can significantly improve the lives of those who suffer from this common fear. Next, let's talk about number 5, Musophobia, the fear of mice and rats. If you haven't heard this term before, you've certainly encountered people, or even yourself, recoiling at the sight of these small animals. It's surprisingly universal. Mice and rats are often associated with unsanitary conditions, and the diseases they spread heighten their fear factor. For many, this phobia stems from a traumatic experience during childhood, like being startled by a mouse scurrying past, or worse, getting bitten. But more commonly, it's an innate reaction to their penchant for transmitting diseases. This seemingly small fear can evoke physical and mental responses similar to other animal phobias: increased heart rate, anxiety, difficulty breathing, or even moments of sheer panic. Exterminators are usually the first line of defense for practical management, but for those with debilitating fears, therapy and medication can gradually address the root causes. Moving on to number 4, Ichthyophobia, the fear of fish. This one might come across as puzzling at first. Fear of fish? People often assume this is just being nervous around sharks, but ichthyophobia is a much broader issue. It can range from being uneasy at the idea of eating fish meat to an aversion to touching raw fish, or even encountering them in tanks or the open sea. For some, the fear stems from the unpredictability and appearance of fish, which can seem alien or slimy. For others, past experiences, such as being startled while swimming or fishing, might have caused this fear to develop. Unlike Galeophobia, which is specific to sharks, ichthyophobia encompasses all fish, even harmless ones. Treatment often involves exposure therapy, ranging from gradual observation to more hands-on approaches. The goal is to help sufferers reframe their perception of fish, particularly by showing them that most species are harmless. Now arriving at one of the most well-known animal phobias out there. Number 3, Arachnophobia, the fear of spiders. Arachnophobia is so widespread that it often appears in pop culture as a quintessential fear. What makes this fear so unique is its spectrum. While many people may be unfazed by tiny, harmless spiders, they're utterly terrified of larger or potentially venomous ones, such as tarantulas or black widows. For some, even the smallest hint of a cobweb prompts feelings of unease or outright avoidance. Why are spiders so feared? Biologists believe it's an evolutionary trait. Certain spider species are venomous, and our ancestors had to avoid them to survive. Over time, this instinct has grown into a full-blown phobia for some individuals. Symptoms can range from mild discomfort or tense avoidance to outright panic attacks, especially if the spiders appear unexpectedly in close proximity. The treatment, much like with other phobias, typically involves exposure therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, aiming to demystify the creature and teach individuals that most spiders are not harmful. Medication might also be an option for particularly severe cases. With our countdown well underway, we're getting closer to unveiling the top 2 most common animal phobias. Stay tuned, as these fears might hit closer to home than you might think. Let's continue unraveling the complex ways our brains respond to the animal kingdom. Right after this, let's move further into our countdown with number 2, Cynophobia, fear of dogs. On the surface, this phobia might seem surprising because dogs are often celebrated as humanity's closest companions. They're affectionate, loyal, and protective, which is why millions of people adore them. However, cynophobia is far more common than you'd think. At its core, the phobia often stems from a fear of dogs attacking or behaving aggressively, especially when they feel threatened. For someone with cynophobia, being near a dog, even one that's calm and friendly, can trigger intense anxiety. Symptoms mirror those of many other animal phobias, including shortness of breath, dizziness, accelerated heartbeats, and trembling. In severe cases, it can even result in chest pain or muscle tension. While some people develop this fear after a traumatic experience, such as a dog bite or being chased during childhood, others might not have any particular incident, but feel a strong unease around dogs regardless. Given how common dogs are in public and private spaces, avoiding them entirely would require drastic life adjustments. Therapy, particularly exposure therapy, can help individuals regain their confidence in being around dogs. In certain situations, medication may also be recommended to manage acute symptoms. With time, many can overcome this fear or at least reduce its intensity to manageable levels. Finally, we arrive at number 1 on the list, Ranidaphobia, the fear of frogs and toads. While frogs and toads might seem like an unusual creature to fear, this specific phobia is more frequent than you might assume. Despite their harmless and solitary nature, their slimy texture or sudden, unpredictable jumps can evoke feelings of disgust or fear. For some, these creatures represent a broader aversion to amphibians or anything perceived as slimy or wet. However, Ranidaphobia isn't always rooted in disgust. An interesting dimension of this fear is rooted in guilt or accidental harm. For example, a famous case from 1983 involved a woman whose fear of frogs began after she unintentionally killed several with a lawnmower. This traumatic event imprinted itself on her psyche, and from then on, the very sight, thought, or sound of a frog became enough to invoke extreme physical and emotional reactions, such as lightheadedness, shaking, chest tightness, and nausea. What makes Ranidaphobia particularly unique is that there doesn't always seem to be a logical basis for the fear. Unlike, say, a snake or spider, neither frogs nor toads pose any discernible threat to humans. Yet, this paradox highlights the fascinating unpredictability of human psychology. The treatment for Ranidaphobia, like most specific phobias, includes gradual exposure therapy, where patients interact with images, videos, and eventually live frogs in a controlled way. For others, cognitive behavioral therapy can address underlying guilt or trauma, helping sufferers redefine their relationship with these creatures. Medication is also an option, but typically only as a complementary measure during times of acute anxiety. And there you have it, the top 10 most common animal phobias that affect humans all over the world. From the predictable fears of spiders and snakes to the surprising unease caused by frogs or fish. These phobias tell us a lot about how our minds work. Some of these fears make evolutionary sense, serving as remnants of survival mechanisms, while others feel random and hard to explain. Either way, the human brain is staggeringly complex, and phobias remind us of its power. If you've enjoyed this exploration of human fears, don't forget to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and click on the bell icon for instant updates from Phobia Files. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced any of these phobias, or do you know someone who has? Let us know what topics you'd like us to cover next. And as always, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for joining us today on Phobia Files as we ventured into the intriguing world of animal phobias. Whether it's the fear of spiders, snakes, or even frogs, these deeply rooted fears tell fascinating stories about human psychology and survival instincts. If you found today's video interesting, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. It really helps our channel grow. And don't just stop there. Hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss an update from us. We regularly dive deep into unique, thought-provoking topics like this one. Plus, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below about your own experiences with phobias, or let us know which fears you'd like us to explore next. Your suggestions often inspire our best content. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep coming back to Phobia Files for all things fascinating and fear-based. See you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe.